We normally talk about the traditional economy. We talk about factors of production, land, labor, capital, and all that. But today, things are changing. When we talk about the digital economy, we talk about different things. We talk about e-commerce. We talk about basically different technologies that the economy is going to be sitting on. We are not going to be talking about land. We are probably not going to be talking about capital in the quantum that we're looking at. Labor will change completely. But the question really is, the issue really is, there will be no job losses, but different skill sets will be required for the future employee. So as accountants, we all need to be ready. We all need to skill up ourselves to ensure that we are relevant in the digital economy. Three basic things that we talk about when we talk about digital economy. We talk about e-commerce. Today we talk about exchanging goods and services, right? The platform for doing that is e-commerce. Though you may have some physical components of it in form of warehouses, we all know about Konga, Jumia, and all that. They still have some warehouses, but largely the transactions is done, digitally. E-business. Today we talk about Netflix, we talk about Facebook. All these things do not require land. All you are doing is exchanging digital documents and making payments through your e-commerce. And both of these will sit on the digital infrastructure. The digital infrastructure is, when we talk about our internet, our World Wide Web, broadband, we talk about all these things, power, electricity, and all that. That is the digital infrastructure. You're all aware of Alert, the first fully digital bank in Africa by Wema Bank. We launched this last year. It's doing very well, and we're trying to take it to the next level. The first fully digital bank. We've won several awards. We're tired of awards. What I tell my people now is, let us make money. It's not about awards. Let's make money. Let's create shareholder value. So we talk about 4.2 trillion in terms of valuation of the digital economy today. And the key players are technology companies. Apple just crossed the 1 trillion valuation in capitalization. Also Amazon, they also just crossed the $1 trillion dollar capitalization. So all these things are, 10 years ago, the major companies on the New York Stock Exchange are the likes of the oil companies, ExxonMobil, the FMCG companies, Procter & Gamble, and all that. But today, when you pick 8 out of the 10 most capitalized companies on the New York Stock Exchange, they're all technology companies. So things are changing, and it's going into all facets of our life. So I've just talked about some of these things. We see Airbnb. Airbnb is a company that they don't have any real estate, but they make money off real estate. Okay? Apple, they have the financial services area. Amazon started off as a retail company, but today, do you know that Amazon is now becoming a technology company? They provide cloud services and they serve it. So they are probably even making much more money from technology than the retail business. So a lot of things are happening. In fact, in Wema Bank, what we keep asking ourselves when we're in strategy sessions is, are we a bank? Are we a technology company with a banking license? Or a technology company doing banking? Things are fluid. Unlike in those days where barriers were very high, barriers have been crushed. The digital economy, anybody can stay in the backyard of your home and come up with a disruptive innovative product that will disrupt the entire system. So that is what is going on. Let's go. Countries in the Nordic. If you've traveled extensively, the Nordic, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, they are very, very active here. You have virtually a cashless environment. When you see somebody carrying cash in Denmark or in Finland, it's probably a foreigner. Talking about how this is going to impact us. I talked about barriers to entry. Barriers to entry have crashed. All we're talking about here is innovation. Also, in terms of industry segments, it's becoming blurry. Blurry in the sense that you see at Amazon, a retailer going into technology, a technology company, Apple, Alibaba, a retailer going into financial services. So things are becoming blurry. In banking, we have maybe 25, 26 banks today. But the truth of it is that we are competing not with ourselves, but with those segments, industries outside of banking. And if you do not know that, it's just a matter of time you disappear from the scene. Talking about barriers to entry, lowered. Talking about financial inclusion generally. Everybody is now coming into the whole field. Things are happening very, very fast. And of course, skill sets, as I said, is changing. Now, what are the key issues in digital economy? And I'll talk about it. I think the previous session I dealt with security extensively. I will not dwell too much on that. Security, very, very important. Privacy. How do I submit my data to do several things on the net? My data is everywhere, and this data will be used. How is my privacy protected? So as accountants, when we do a lot of things, we're not operating in a cocoon, we're operating in a global space. And that information can be used for anything, trust. Also, the chairman was talking about trust earlier on. How am I sure? Today we talk about fake news all over the place. They don't believe anything on the net. A lot of junks on the net. And that's why we always say when people forward information on WhatsApp and all, you don't do that except to assure of the source. So trust, those are issues in the digital economy. Infrastructure, very expensive. Now we talk about people going to the cloud. Even the cloud is not that cheap. So that's why you see those foreign Western economies. They're still the economies that are doing quite well in this space because they are the rich economies. They can invest heavily in this space. But the good news about Africa is that we are leapfrogging. A number of things are happening in Africa: Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa. That even the Western world are also still trying to see how they can also catch up. Regulation, uncertainty. Uncertainty has to do with everybody being scared. What's going to happen? Now we talk about robotics, and all the application of robotics. You come into a bank or an insurance company, you have a robo-advisor. A robo-advisor will advise you on a number of things, burden on your finances. I come into a bank, a teller. Have you seen a teller will pay you money outside of the ATM or whatever? A teller, can engage you on things. Now, the digital economy is growing. The regulators are not moving as fast. So we have a lag. The regulators are not moving as fast. So the question is, as players in that economy, we need to engage regulators very effectively to ensure that we also pull them along. We all know about the GDPR policy in the UK, talking about data protection and all that. So all these things are things that, as accountants, we need to be aware of. You don't have to be a techie. I'll just quickly run through. I think the chairman had talked about automation and robotics, big data and analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning and all that, blockchain and cryptocurrency, cloud computing, virtual and augmented reality. These are all different technologies on which the digital economy is sitting on. So you make money with all these things. Time is of essence, and I can't go deep into this, but these are things that we need to be aware of as accountants and as accountants. And of course, how do you address some of these issues that we raised that are concerns? Policy and enforcement. Government needs to, the regulators, we need to come up with policies to ensure that we address some of these things. Advancement in security, we talk about cyber security today, and then public enlightenment and engagement, very, very key. So all these things are very important, and thank you very much.